Okay, so I haven't done a video in a while, and I've had a lot going on. My stepdad was put in the hospital, and I had a death in the family. Actually, I've had 2 deaths in the family in the last month, so I haven't been able to do any videos for a while. And also, I had a business call me up, and they wanted me to put 9 or 10 pieces of artwork in their facility. And also, just had a call from a collector slash client in Denmark who wanted me to do a few steampunk pieces because they really like the mechanical aspect of the steampunk drawings that I do. And so I wanted to share that this is just a concept sketch, okay? I actually made a copy of this out of my sketchbook. My sketchbook that I've been drawing in, that I've been posting on my Instagram and Facebook page, is basically just concepts that I have in my head, and ideas that I want to put down on paper to later maybe do drawings or paintings with. Well, my client really loved this piece, but of course I saw a lot of flaws in this piece. This is, like I said, it was just a concept sketch, and so I wanted to do some tweaking. So this was the original concept, and I'm going to start working on this piece here, which is also going to be done in pen and ink. I just changed some angles with the face, changed the, I didn't like this hand here, so I changed the hand. And actually my client is got another piece that he really loved, which is this piece. He loved this piece. So since he already had a bird here in this piece that I'm going to be doing him, I took the bird out of this one and I changed it over to a mechanical bee. And I made the bee pretty large, so it's almost like a mega bee. It's a mega bee. And then I changed the shape of the hat, or the style of the hat, and I actually changed his clothes to have a vest on. So, oh, and I changed from a magnifying glass to a monocle, because that's more steampunk with the monocle. So I'm just going to go ahead and start basically outlining everything to get started with this piece, just to get the backdrop in, get it started. And I apologize if I turn the page a whole lot. I don't like doing curves without turning the page. It's just harder for me to do it that way, or I just don't feel comfortable doing it that way. And I added, I don't know why, but I have a fascination with like rusty panels with rivets, and I added these little panels on his hat just because I thought they were cool. Okay, that one's going to be hidden. But anyway, today like I said, I was able to take 9 pieces of artwork and put them in a business for display, which I haven't been able to do that in a while, just because there's been so much going on with my surgery and everything I just had done. Just have not had a chance to do that, but I was able to do that today, and I was thankful for the opportunity to get to display my work. And I'm excited about getting to do these steampunk pieces because the collector and client that I'm doing these for actually comes in from Denmark and visits occasionally. And the last time he was in, he actually came to the studio, and he came to see some of my work, but then we ended up talking, and he had another place to be, so he didn't really get to really look at some of the pieces. He had originally offered to buy my sketchbook, and I only had like 30 pictures in my sketchbook, so I was like, well, I will totally do, you know, a drawing out of the sketchbook for you, or anything that you like, I can tweak or whatever, but that is my personal sketchbook that I just put my concepts and ideas in. So I'm excited about this because he wanted me to do 4 steampunk pieces, and then texted me back, and he's commissioned a 5th piece to be done. And he's bought artwork from me before, and took it back over to Denmark with him. And I think that's pretty neat. I'm an international artist now, just because of him. But I'm just thankful that I have someone who likes my style and my work. And I really do love the steampunk style. Some of it gets a little bit, I'm a Christian artist, and some of it gets a little bit risque for the women's attire, their clothing, and I don't really too much like that aspect of it, but I do love the mechanicals and the whole era of the steampunk feel, with the gears and the clocks and the, you know, the leather belt buckles and straps, and I love the sceneries, the clothing on most of it, their just the whole concept. And maybe one day I will do a video of some of the, maybe showing you some of the other steampunk items that I've made. I've actually made steampunk hats. I won't say hats, more like, well, yeah, hats. I guess you could call it hats. One's a skateboarder's hat that I converted steampunk. Another one was like a hard hat. Then I have, I think, another one that is like a motocross helmet. And then I have quite a few little guns that I've blinged up and changed and turned into steampunk guns that I really enjoy doing those. And I love finding the little pieces laying around of metal or plastic or whatever I find to put on them. And then, of course, I paint them up and fix them to where they look totally aged and really, really cool. But maybe one day I'll do a video showing that. Some of my cosplay gear, I guess you call it. So. But I was drawing, when I was trying to draw the concepts for my client on these pieces, I really had fun. Because the night that I sat down to draw a few concepts, other than this one and the bird, he just said draw me 4 pictures, come up with some ideas, and when I come in I'll look at them. And I thought, well, I'm going to send him the concept sketches and just see if he's pleased with them. And we talked about a few of the little ideas, and he was like, okay, run with it, you know, go with it. So basically, this one's not, maybe it's detailed, but I've got this one, the bird, and then I've got 2 that are actually have a woman and a man in those pictures, and they have scenery in the background, which is pretty cool. I loved, I can't wait to do those. I think those will be interesting, and I may do those as a video as well, just because it'd be kind of like a series of steampunk things I've done with video. But those are going to be really neat to do too as well, because they have the background scenes. And honestly, I really like some of these steampunk designs, or the concepts rather, and I'm really thinking about doing a couple oil paintings or acrylic maybe. I'm not sure. I think oil would be kind of cool because the blending would be awesome on it. But I'm thinking about doing some bigger pieces in the steampunk style, which I think would be neat. Now I'm using a 20 millimeter micron pen, a 005, which is the smallest one that I have. And I'm using the smallest one just because I want to do this faintly. I don't want it to be too bold or in your face. That finger's just kind of bent right there. But I'm just basically getting outlined because I'm not sure yet, but I think I may do some of this in pointillism, some of it in cross hatching, some of it in different. I'm not sure yet. I may just do a blend. I know with this one I did the background solid, and there's a little bit of cross hatching going on, and then I've got a pattern up here, so I may do some of that, and then again I may do something totally different. I'm not sure yet. But I have like maybe 12 days, no, maybe less than that, to get 5 paintings done. Or 4 drawings and a painting done. So, but like I said, I'm excited. I like doing these drawings. And I don't know about you, but when you're doing steampunk drawings, you have to, a lot of it can be make believe in your mind. Some of the things that you add on your pieces. For me, I think that's the fun of doing the steampunk, because you can add your flair. Like with this monocle, I decided to put like a wing effect with these little clamps here. I don't know. I just thought it was kind of neat. But you kind of can just play with it and add, add belt buckles, add, leather, add your clock gears and your regular gears and your clock faces and all that to just about anything. Like with this bee right here, I actually looked online for some pictures of mechanical critters, and I found a bee similar to this, and I really liked the bee. I don't know why, but I really liked the bee. So I took one of the drawings that I saw and I tweaked it and I made it my own. I changed some things up. I love the he has safety pins. I'll draw this part in. He has safety pins for his wings, and I thought that was just so cool for somebody to think of that concept of putting a safety pin for a wing. So I did take this little idea of the safety pins on the wings, but then I made the bee my own. I changed a lot of things on the bee to make it different and unique to me. So now they'll say, don't take another artist's work. don't steal their idea, and I totally agree. But we find that ideas and concepts and inspiration comes from many directions. It comes from many places. It can be from another artist's work. It can be from nature. It can be from a building that we see, or a structure, a form, a shape. And inspiration comes in so many different directions. And for me, I have a hard time sometimes putting on paper what I see in my mind. So I may reference, say I want, like I did a picture one time that was a painting. I found this pair of bright colored Converse shoes I love. I used to have a pair of bright yellow Converse that I wore to school, actually, when I was in junior high. And I thought they were really cool. And I thought, wouldn't it be kind of neat if I did these bright yellow Converse hanging from like a clothing line, like they've just been washed, and have a hummingbird kind of hovering around it, almost like it thinks it's a flower, or it's a nectar of some sort. And so I painted. The concept came from my head, but I went online and I looked at pictures of tennis shoes, and I looked at pictures of hummingbirds, and I drew that picture from that, looking at that, maybe a photograph or whatever. So that was where that inspiration came out of my head, but then I went to do my research and actually got the drawings from a photograph. So a lot of times, and I'll tell you a little secret. I took commercial art in school, in college, and like I said, sometimes I struggle with faces. So we had a project to do in our class that was to draw pictures of babies for a baby ward catalog book, I don't know what you call it, that would go into the hospital. And our classroom or whatever was designated to do, or asked to do, the pictures for this hospital, for their maternity ward. And I was diligently trying to work on this picture of a baby, or I'll say a toddler. And I struggled with the face. This was 20 something years ago, so mind you, I've learned some techniques since then, but I struggled with the face really bad. And my teacher came over and he told me, and he was just being honest, but he basically told me my little toddler looked like Barney Rubble. So I had this tiny little body and this grown-up looking face on the picture I was trying to draw of this little boy. And he said, listen, go get the photograph that you're trying to draw, put it on a light box, and trace the image. And then you can tweak and change or whatever you need to after you've got the base of the image down, the outline, the base, or whatever. Then you can do your shading. He said, as in commercial art, people do that all the time. And I felt so guilty, because I was like, but then that doesn't make me a true artist. I'm thinking that in my head, I've basically cheated. That's what I thought. I thought I had cheated, and I felt so bad. But those pictures got put in the magazine for the baby ward, for the hospital catalog, or whatever you want to call it. And it did help to get me through that struggle with that, because I just could not get that baby's face to look like a baby or a toddler. It looked like a grown-up. So sometimes in art, we have to do what I call, not cheating, but what I call unexpected things to make things work and to accomplish the goal that we've set out to do. And on this piece here, like I said, this was my concept, but I was totally not loving how big the magnifying glass was. I actually well, that's a word. I actually took away from the size of his face being blowed up by making it so big. If I would have done it just over the eye and had the eye bigger than the other parts of the face, that would have come across better. Of course, the hand was out of proportion and not angled right. The bird I really did like on this one, and even the clothing, I saw mistakes in this that, although I love the concept, I saw my error in that one. So I went in and found a man's face that I really liked, and I drew this pose, which is a little bit more, and I don't know, I love this. He had just a slight tilt of his face. I gave him a mustache, and I like the angle of his hand here a whole lot better. And of course, we changed from a magnifying glass to a monocle, so it's not blowed up, his eye's not blowed up. But I actually think this is more steampunk than the other one, and so I totally went with this one. But there again, I had to look online and find a picture of a man's face that I really, really thought was close to the look that I was wanting, and that's where I drew this from. So don't be afraid to pull from resources. I'll just say it that way. Because ultimately, if you're sketching it and you're drawing it, it's still your artwork. Of course, you don't want to go and steal somebody's idea. Now, this face I found, but I continued to go back and changed. I changed and put all this in. That was mine. I changed the monocle. The expression on his face is the same as the one I saw in the hand. But I changed the clothing, I changed the hat, changed the monocle, I changed this, I put this little thing in with the bee. So, there's a lot of times when you have to do whatever you gotta do to get that image to come out like you see it in your head. And I knew that my first drawing was a little bit cartoony looking, and I was going for a more realistic look here. And this is off, so I'm going to fix it. So I hope that makes sense. Don't be afraid to use your resources. If you have to look up, you know, a picture of something to look at, to draw, or sometimes if I'm doing faces, I have to grid off. If I'm doing really, really detailed faces, I will definitely grid off because I want to get the detail in. I just don't want to lose that detail, so I definitely do that. As my instructor said, it's tricks of the trade. Artists do work really hard. I actually put in about 20 hours already just doing 4 concept sketches like this. It took me 2 days to get the concepts just like I wanted, and I spent, I think it was one day was maybe 12 hours that day. I had it on my mind. I wanted to get it done so that I could go in and do the final drawings, but the concept itself took me about 2 days to to get that together. So I'm not going to put these lines in up here yet. And on this picture, I actually went over just a little bit right here, but I actually drew a little edge border. And this is just because my client wanted the picture to be about the size of a 8 by 10, 8 by 11, or whatever a regular sheet of paper is. And I wanted to give him a little bit of a border so that since he's traveling, I'm not framing these. He's transporting them without frame or mat, without glass, because it's easier for him to transport. But I'm going to sandwich these in between some boards just to protect them. But I wanted to leave enough space here that he could put a mat, or if he frames it, he actually has a border there to look almost like a mat. So now I'm going to go in here and I'm going to change pins here. Start doing, I'm going to use what is this? 25 mil. It might be still a little small. And I'm going to go in and just start filling in some color on places that I know are going to be solid. And you can use up a lot of ink using one of these to do big areas. So you need a fan, excuse me, not a fan, but like a pigment brush. It has this like a brush end on it. This is for more like what I did with this one with the background. It's just great for big areas, or bigger areas, I'll say. Let's see, do I want that here? Let's go down here. We'll start with the eye. We'll make him a nice dark pupil. Give him some light coming across his eye. And I'm not trying to be super fast with this. I want to take my time because, like I said, this is a commission piece. And I want to make sure that I do it right. I don't want to rush it. If I get quiet, I'm just concentrating. Let's see. Pull this up just a little bit. I didn't connect that for some reason. If I get really quiet, I'm sorry. Sometimes I go to concentration mode here. I'm drawing in these eyebrows to look like there's actual hair. Go in different directions. I want to look as realistic as possible, but yet still have that sort of, not really comic, but well, sort of, I guess you could call it like a comic look to it without being overly comic, without being overly cartoony. Now on this one, I'm just messing around with that. On this one I had like a cross-hatching design. I'm debating on doing that again on this, but I think it might be too much, I'm not sure. So, my client said he wants grayscale, but we're gonna pick an item somewhere on the picture to make a pop of color. And I'm not sure if I want to make the pop of color his monocle, his goggle, or something on the bee. I'm not sure yet. So I gotta mull that over a little bit and think about it before I go to make a decision on that. Sometimes you go in with an idea, but you're not always clear, and you kind of just let it evolve. And that's what we're doing here. We're letting it evolve as I go. And sometimes that's the best thing to do. But I probably, since we're going to be doing grayscale, probably will have maybe the hat painted in gray, and or I could do this cross-hatching pattern and then do these as in a wash. Not sure. I'm just not sure. I'm giving him some short hair here. Almost like it's like it's just been freshly shaved, maybe. Not really long. And I'm just using sort of a crisscross hatching type technique to get this look. That kind of mimics his eyebrows. Let's see. Now his mustache is going to be just a little bit longer lines. I'm doing these straight, but then I'll go in and See how I'll do a little couple curls in there as if the hair is curled up a little bit. And of course we want it to look like it's a little thicker in places. Like it's more sporadic and growing a little wilder in some areas. I'm looking at my time and I've already been here 35 minutes. This is all I've gotten done. And I hope that you're patient with me because I'm in no real big hurry to mess up a client's work. So I'm taking my time. Kind of like how this sort of is a little ragged right there. Don't want it to be totally so super clean that it doesn't look natural. Get some little curls up on these little down here. Some curls with the hair flipping up a little bit. Same thing over here. To look like it's a little longer than maybe his upper lip. Use my little fine brush and my fine micron for this bit of texture to the lips. These very, very faint lines here. Not sure if you can see that on paper, on the camera or not. Just very, very fine, faint lines that I'm putting in for his highlights and shadows on his lip. And I can maybe just outline underneath it just a little bit. Like he's got a little bit of a shadow underneath. And again, you probably hear my birds in the background when I'm in here talking or just being in the studio. They like to jibber jabber when I'm in here. I think it's just they don't like me disrupting their space, honestly. Okay, let's see. I could also think of like the direction maybe my light may be hitting. So I may do my light source. Actually, I may do my light source from this direction. That way everything, if I have shadows here, that's not going to show up against this dark hat. If I do it here, then that would give this a lighter look. Or I could do it front on. Gosh, I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. Inside of his collar there. And this is underneath of the shirt. So that would be a definite shadow. So, I've run out of things to talk about. How has everyone's day been? Has everybody been having a good week? Other than the few things that's happened in my family and other things going on, I think it's been pretty good week. Well, I say it's been a pretty good week. Monday I kept losing things, and then silly me decided to get in the car and go pick up my son, thinking that because my watch on my arm said it was like 3:30, and I was supposed to pick, or well, actually it said like 3:15, 3:20, and I was supposed to pick him up at 3. Got to the schoolhouse and noticed that my clock on my car said 1:30. I had went to pick him up a whole hour and a half early. So I drove all the way back home and commenced to do something I needed to do at home and had to go back out again, which was rather weird. And then yesterday I lost something. I misplaced something. I don't know what's wrong with me this week, but I've been misplacing things and can't seem to find them. I'm going to make this the shadow. Give me a little bit of a shadow here. And of course in this there'll be probably a shadow in here, because this is the underneath of his, or in between his hand. And then of course right here, because this is like the bottom or the front of the finger. And the way it's tucked in there, you're not going to see a whole lot. And giving him some shadow on his hand here. Just darkening up these little edges, because once I go in and do shadows like this with the fine pen, you tend to lose those little bit of the creases, I guess, in his fingers. So I'm just darkening it up just a little bit. And I'm doing a really light, quick swipe with my micron to keep it very light and airy. And we don't want drastic lines here. We just want subtle shading right there. And after looking at this, now I'm thinking that this needs to be darker. So I'm going to go in and cross the other way. I'm going to do a cross hatching sort of, and that darkens up the lines, but changes the angle of these lines a little bit. And of course we want to put, and I may end up having to do that dark. We'll just have to see. I'm kind of playing it by ear. I'm just kind of darkening up these lines again so that you will see when I go to put more shadows in on these fingers. And notice that I'm putting shadows all on the underneath. So that means the light source is going to be like the top of his fingers would be light, and the underneath is going to be shadow. And the lines get a little shorter as they go up. Oops. And I did that a little dark. Darker than I meant to. Okay, I think I'm actually, this is a mixed media paper, so I may do, he said grayscale. I wonder if I could just do this. I may just do this. And give his hand some color. add some black on these little blending sticks. Now I could probably use watercolor on this just because it's a mixed media type paper. I'll do like a little loop right here because this is kind of going into that next one. Kind of blending that out a little bit. Actually, kind of like that. Gives it sort of a almost like a pencil sketch. We still have the pen and ink though going on. And now that I did that, I can actually come back in with this finer and do a little bit more. I'm actually cross-hatching right through here. I'm actually going the opposite direction almost to mimic the length or the direction that the finger flows. Hopefully that looks a little bit better. Now, I've got to figure out what kind of technique I'm going to do on this. Thinking I want this to look a little bit like rusted metal. But I'm going to kind of do a slight cross-hatching, very thin, almost like it's been scratched up a little bit. But yet rusty. Now, this drawing was asked to be done in black and gray scales, but this picture would actually look really awesome with some brown and gold tones in it. It would really accentuate some of the details, like the gears being different color cogs and gears being different color browns, maybe some gold on the goggles, maybe in the V and the monocle. That would be really cool. And like I said, I may end up eventually taking some of these sketches, even though this is a commission for someone. I may do an actual painting off of this sketch because I really, really like it. Really, really like it. Right now I'm just going all in one direction. I'll come back and do the other direction in a minute as I see fit. Just trying to kind of play it by ear and go along as I kind of see it in my head. Just putting a few more shadows in on the face here and trying to figure out as I go where the shadows need to be. Then I can come back in and of course do my little blending stick. Now, he has kind of a sort of a bend on his nose. And when it gets down to the bottom here, I have to create some type of little nostril hint of it, or like a, yeah, don't have to be huge, just needs to, people need to be aware. Now that's of course way too small, so I'm gonna have to bring it back out. And of course we might want to put some shadows under here. too many because I want to do it with this. Okay, in the picture his eye is supposed to be closed, and so you're just seeing a crease here, natural creases, but that his eye is actually supposed to be closed right there. I wasn't sure if I was going to try to do pointillism or cross hatching or line work like I'm doing here. But I think I may end up just doing mainly line work on this one. And of course, if I do it on this one, I may follow through and do it on the others. Then again, I may put some pointillism in here in an unexpected place and surprise you. And this is like a little wrinkle here, so I'm kind of just putting on this one highlights like under it, like under the wrinkle there. This is shadow off of the hat. Sometimes when you're doing these lines like this, I kind of went in the direction of almost like his eyebrow, kind of mimic that. And I want to take my blending stick and do the whole monocle as if there is a little bit of a colored glass there. bit of a darker shadow here under what I would consider the cheekbone. And along the bottom of the chin line. This gives it a little bit more depth. And if I wanted to, we could do even like a little divot in his chin there. And we'll come up right there, give that a little bit more of a definition. Like that's the side of his chin there. Okay. So far we've spent an hour doing this, and I'm gonna quit this video. This is part 1 of my steampunk man, and come back and watch me again. I'm going to do part 2, and we'll see where this goes. Alright, thanks for watching. If you have any comments or you like the work, I would be so happy to have some good positive comments and some encouraging words, because this is my life. This is what I love doing. This is something that I've endeavored to do as a career, and I just need all the encouragement I can get. But thank you for watching, and don't forget to watch episode 2.